For me, fresh plums in late summer are just two of my favorites. If you've overlooked plums in your cooking, then join me today for some simple and delicious treats utilizing this now bountiful produce. We're going to begin by setting the oven at 350 degrees and looking at the necessary ingredients for this plum torte. You'll need a half a cup or 1 stick of real butter, a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 1 cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, a half of a teaspoon of salt, the juice of a half of a real lemon, a teaspoon of cinnamon mixed with a tablespoon of sugar, and 6 to 8 fresh plums that you've pitted and halved. I used a 10-inch springform pan and began by spraying it generously with a butter-flavored non-stick spray and then setting it aside. I want to cream my butter at room temperature with my sugar. I'm using a hand mixer, and that's fine. You can use a stand mixer if you would rather. You could even get by with a wooden spoon. This is a very light batter. You'll want to add your eggs in one at a time and incorporate them thoroughly. Then I just sifted my flour, baking soda, and my salt into 2 separate batches in order to make sure that I got that entire batter mixed very well. It's not a dense batter, but it is a little sticky, so you're just going to need a little bit of elbow grease as you get more flour incorporated. Once you have everything combined, you're going to want to transfer your batter to the pan that you've already prepared and begin to smooth that batter out. Now, you don't have to get out every lump and bump because this is going to end up lumpy and bumpy anyway, as you'll see when you are able to view the finished product. But you do want to get a nice base for your plums to sit in. The batter's not going to be very deep, so when you do lay your plums in, and you're going to want to put them in cut side down, you're going to want to press them just a little bit into your batter to make sure they're well seated. I'm telling you, these whole plums, well, half of plums, they're really going to fool you by how much they cook down and become part of the cake. You're going to want to squeeze your lemon juice over the top. And I did catch the seed that fell right there, right before I put it in the oven. Then once your lemon juice is on, go ahead and sprinkle the top with your cinnamon and sugar mixture. And I'm telling you what, already before this is ever in the oven, it smells so good. And that cinnamon's giving you just a little hint of fall to come. And I don't know about you, but I'm really kind of ready for this heat to break and some cooler weather to come in and join us for a minute. That's going to go in your oven for about 45 minutes, and then you're going to want to let it cool for at least 30 minutes before you serve it. Now, the plums do leave their lumpy, bumpy mark behind in this rustic dessert, but don't be fooled by its appearance. The plums, the juice, and the cake have all married and produced a torte that is sweet, tart, gooey, and crunchy all at once. It's so, so divine. I sprinkle mine with a little powdered sugar before serving, and I'm telling you, this plum torte is delicious. For the next recipe, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 375. This roasted plum toast with honey goat cheese calls for a cup of pitted and quartered plums, half of a medium red onion sliced fine, 3 tablespoons of goat cheese, 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, a teaspoon of honey, a sprig of chopped rosemary, and 2 slices of your favorite sprouted bread. You'll also need a little olive oil. You're going to place your plums and the onions in an oven-ready dish and just douse them really good with olive oil. No real measurement here, just do it by eye. You want to coat everything really evenly. Put it in the oven for 30-40 minutes. This is what you're looking for. This is what you're going to be then adding your balsamic vinegar and your rosemary to. And you're going to thoroughly stir it all together. and then pop it back in the oven for another 10 or 15 minutes. That's going to further reduce everything, and some of those heavier pieces of the plum are going to cook down in those last few minutes. Now, while you're waiting for your plums to finish cooking, just go ahead and get your bread ready to pop in the oven by placing a wire rack inside of a baking sheet. When you remove the plum mixture from the oven, put your toast in, and then I transferred the cooked plums into a dish for cooling because those babies were hot. Look at that steam. Be careful. Once your toast is ready, and yes, you can just use a toaster. I just utilized the oven since it was already on. Apply copious amounts of the goat cheese to each slice. Now look, I'm making this for my weekend breakfast, but you could certainly stretch this to feed 2 or 3 on a normal, say, Tuesday if you wanted. I'm kind of selfish with my goat cheese, so. Then pile on that still warm plum mixture. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. Then just drizzle it with a little bit of honey, and you're gonna wanna eat it while it's still warm and that cheese is melty and gooey. I cannot wait. The vinegar cuts through the richness of the cheese and makes this a delightful anytime treat, really. I encourage you to check out your local farmer's market or neighborhood produce stand this week and enjoy a fruit or vegetable you may have never tried, or try an old favorite in a new way. But as always, make sure it's sprinkled with sparkle.